Okay.
It looks like a pretty clear signal here. All right, so
Yep.
we are live. Let me check, make sure everything's cool.
Yeah.
It takes about a minute. Let's see. Yeah, I put that post up, and quite a few people were showing.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to hear and receive.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Let me make sure we're okay, because the screen here is a little bit delayed.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pull it up on here. Here we go. Yeah, there's 7 people in the house so far. See if the sound's all right. Let me check. All right. So we got a few people trickling in. Oh yeah, here we come. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, a whole bunch of people. These are all your friends.
Yay!
Irina Asakov.
Mm-hmm.
Donna Green, Susan Addison, Mary Lou's in the house. Who else we got here? Francine Cariso, Chrissy Johnson. Blessed morning to y'all, too.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah,
or good evening here in Europe. It's already in the evening.
Depending on where you're at. Okay, so we
nice
got.
To have you.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of people here, a lot of Europeans. Verushka Normando, Marit Campbell. Very cool names. I'm going to mess them up, but that's all right. So there's some new
Here we go.
people, new names. Here's Copenhagen's in the house. Ragnhild, Shanina Lehman, Erica Haberkorn. Okay, so there's some new names I don't recognize, so let me introduce myself. Yeah. Hello, Finn Westfall. He says Vera. So everybody knows Vera. My name's Todd Medina. This is the Soulogy Network. This is our main show, which is called SoulSpeaks 5D. It's a conversation with, and today it's Vera Ingeborg. And I just want to say thank you for coming on again and sharing space with us. It's an honor to have you here. You have a tremendous amount of respect in the Lightworker communities for a long, long time, and have been writing some really, really powerful stuff for a long, long time. So thanks for coming.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
On short notice, which is my style.
Yes. Well, that is, I would say, what's normal now.
I totally agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. You know, I had to back off all this tight scheduling, and it just seems to be flowing a lot better with. But this is our 503rd episode, so that is an 8. That's a good number for us, right?
That's a really good number.
Yeah.
Sounds like abundance.
It is abundant, super abundant. Yeah. So hello everybody. If these shows resonate with you, please share. I got a lot of people coming in from all over the world here. It's coming in so fast I can't see them all. I wanted to start the show with Vera's a great writer. Morgan, my partner Morgan, introduced me to her, I don't know, maybe like 2 years ago. And I don't read a lot of people's stuff, but I always liked her stuff. And you know, we went through to everybody's admission. We've just gone through, and I don't know what we're about to go through, but what we went through the last week or week and a half was pretty intense for a lot of people. A lot of people are talking about it. And so in that beautiful chaos that we just experienced, or that's prepping us for whatever we're getting into the next few days, I read this post by Vera, and I'm going to run through it real quick. And it really, really, to me, it really laid everything out in really plain terms, which is one thing I really like about the way you write, because you don't get overextended on the verbiage and some of the words. It's very easy to read your stuff. But let me read it to you real quick for everybody. And she says, we're at a point now where it is no longer possible to run or block away your own fears and to prevent pain. The weak masculine conditioning is ready for transformation. The triggers are building up in a way that there is no way to turn away and ignore. It goes right into the core. The intention is to break you and all your patterns. Let the light of the new earth enter. The mind will judge, blame, justify, to not have to feel the pain and to not have to take responsibility for your own decisions and actions. Yet the only way is to surrender and to own your feelings, your lessons, and your journey. Look bravely into the energetic mirror and see what it tells you about yourself. What still hurts needs your attention and needs to be transformed by allowing your emotions without interpretation. Just feel it for the last time. The way is through the pain, not away from it. No one else can do it but you. Rest assured that there are people holding space for you and seeing you for who you truly are, who see your essence behind the mask you have been wearing for so long. Remember, nothing happens to you, everything happens for you. It's merely a question of perspective. So that did a lot for me, and I want to personally thank you for that, because it was, so much of the stuff that we go through, it's a personal journey. We know that, but one of the big things is not taking things personally. And the way you laid this out was a blanket explanation for everybody, and I just thought it was a really, really appropriate. So I thought that'd be a good way to start the thing.
Thank you.
And and maybe as a backdrop, ask you, what the hell did we just go through? What was that? What was all that? I understand about all.
What was all of that?
I understand about all the retrograde stuff, but in plain terms, what the heck?
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
Well, for me, like I also mentioned in the post, it's really about the masculine energy now. The masculine energy has been taking over. Actually, beginning of the year, we all already felt, wow, everything's accelerating.
Yeah.
And it was really this feeling of the masculine energy is now catching up with the feminine energy that was going through a lot of transformation before that. And we all felt like the feminine transformation as being, a lot slower. And you go through wave and wave and wave, and you go through release and release and release. But it's slow, and it's also very forgiving. When you're like taking another round, you're taking another round, and it's fine. So that's the more feminine energy that is just, holding space, being open, and leaving you a lot more space and time to go through your stuff. And beginning of the year, we really had this switch into this very fast, accelerated masculine energy coming through. And the masculine energy started with the own transformation to catch up, really, and shift in a quick way. And all of a sudden, there was no like forgiving, oh, okay, I go my own speed and I see how my transformation goes. It was just like the moment you stepped, like back into your comfort zone, it was really hurtful. Mm-hmm. So it was really like this, okay, now your practice time is over. Now let's get real. And we're going to do that quickly. And a lot of people experience this acceleration of the energy. And of course, it's uncomfortable when you're used to, just like go a little bit slower and take your time and not having to focus and still like dream a little bit in La La Land as, having a break in between. And that wasn't possible anymore. There was no like breaks in between. It was like one after the other. You work through shit and then the next one and the next one and the next one. And that is very different right now in terms of how people experience it.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that we really can see how the masculine energy now starts. It was all building up so that the masculine energy can transform.
Yeah.
And the masculine energy has a very different process. And you can also see it with, like conscious couples or twin flames or whatever you want to call it. But the ones that went through the transformation first in these relationships or in these connections, that was those that were carrying more of the feminine energy to come into balance first and to really become these space holders for the masculine energy to catch up. And first you become your own space holder. That was what was happening until now, actually.
Yeah.
Because even when you already have transformed more into your strong feminine side, you still had the weak masculine within you that also needed space to transform. So what a lot of people experienced, including me, was it's not only about being anymore. It's really about taking action. And, being bold, being brave, step out of your spiritual comfort zone again and really do stuff and make things happen. I was really, I had no choice. I had to really stop writing because it was so clear. You're just repeating the stuff. There's not really anything new happening. People know now what's going on. And they know how to, in theory, they know how to handle it, but now it's about doing. Yeah. And it's really about manifesting New Earth. It's no longer just talking or dreaming about it, it's doing it. So this was the point for me where I clearly saw, okay, stop with the wake-up experience. This is like a complete encyclopedia now that is still available where people can go back to and find information. But now it's about building. Now it's really about, like co-creating and coming together with people. And a lot of people had this experience that they were much more like forced into doing things instead of just reading about it, writing. And if you just read, or if you just stay in your mind space, it becomes more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And now really close to that shifting point where the more feminine part of these conscious couples has reached the balance within, and is not only the space holder for self, but also the space holder for the masculine energy, the more masculine part, now waking up. And that is a very different process, because the masculine energy is not going through wave after wave and then a little bit of crying and then you pick yourself up again. The masculine is more like going with 280 miles per hour, like really fast, doing the same thing that they always did, but more and but harder, just like distracting themselves even harder, because they just don't want to go into that heart space and want to feel the stuff, because they're just not used to having emotions and really dealing with them. And they're going to do that up to a point where they really crash into the wall with full speed, and they're going to break once. And they're going to break really, really, like intensely. And it's more like a movement like this, whoop, and then they're going to make a jump. And for the and continue there. And for the feminine, it was more this movement of, okay, we're going wave after wave, we're going to work ourselves up. In the end, they both meet there. Well, what's smart anyways?
The less painful.
It's really also a thing where, we often get trapped in, I have to reach the fifth dimension. And actually there's no have to. And every dimension has its purpose, and every dimension has its own truth. So you cannot really say someone who is in 3D is wrong, or, doesn't get it. It's just a different reality that is manifesting. And it's your own choice when you are, ready to shift and when you want to do the shift. And that your process and your journey starts.
Well, it seems
we do.
No, I was going to say, it seems like, and I love the fact that you described it that way. The only thing I'm wondering, because I was wondering when it happened to me, which was like one big, like going at 280 miles an hour, and then it hit a wall. Because I was telling you before the show, I have not been in that emotional state for 6 years when I was homeless on the streets. And so I do feel some relief, but at the same time, I'm hoping I don't have another bout. No, I'm kidding. Because I did feel that
it goes really fast.
Yeah, I felt like it was completed, and then I've had some things occur since. And the other thing I was going to ask you about too is what I noticed was in the preceding couple of weeks, and I think this energy really has been building for a lot longer than that. But it seemed like over the last couple of weeks, this there was this just outburst in the community of projection and people calling people out, and a lot of finger pointing, and it wasn't just the men; it was the women too.
That's the thing.
I found that interesting. I found that interesting.
It is very interesting. But when you look into the energy, actually, it's very logical what happened, because that's the weak masculine. The weak masculine is the one wanting to control everything and want to be right, wants to have things under control, wants to have them happen the way your mind wants them to happen, how you planned it. You have a certain belief and you have a certain moral in your life, and this is how it should be. That's the weak masculine. Trying to control the reality that it still fits into your box that you have created with your mind. And what's happening right now is that box is just crashed. It's like, whether you like it or not, this reality is gone. And actually, it's only your own body and system that still carries the memory of how it should have been in the old dimension, but actually it's already gone. So it's really about learning. I am like, the server has already been upgraded when you compare it to like a computer, like a server structure, like being connected. The server has already been upgraded, but there's a lot of computers still running around with, you having the hologram on their own like hard disk or on a USB stick, and they still have to delete that program before they can actually update. They have to make space, and that is what's happening right now at a large scale. And that was the masculine energy. Also, the way you experienced it, I was really like lying on the floor. I was crying my eyes out, and it went so deep that I really thought, okay, I just want to get out of here. I want to die, and I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm so done with this. That is how your last bits of wanting to control something and having, we all had a certain idea still of how things should happen. And the past couple of weeks have really taught us there is no control. As much as you would like to control something and how you see it, every time you had a little bit, even just a little bit of expectation, it was blown up in your face. It was really blown up in your face. And it's like, you still have an expectation, here you go, punch in the face. And that's the masculine. It's very different to the experience we had before, because the feminine was this wave thing going in a flow movement, and now it's just very fast and, like I said, crashing into the wall, but then it's done. And that is what people have experienced. It went really deep, and all of a sudden, it's gone. And you still have, the situation has not changed. Like, for example, a lot of people, including Agustin and me, is still struggling with money issues and not being, often not being able, to even think about, how are we going to pay, the next rent or whatever. But that's exactly it. That breaking through that pattern, the situation has not changed, but the perspective has changed, because it's no longer about that fear of survival. So all of a sudden, although it's exactly the same situation, but we're totally relaxed about it now. Because we just know, hey, all is happening in the now, and everything else is just a projection of your mind into the future, panicking about something. And that was the big shift for people. And once you shift, then it can manifest in a different way. But as long as you still carry that old pattern, your reality plays out exactly you feel it.
That's exactly, I mean, it's amazing. Listen to you talk about this, and the fact that you are a female incarnation, very feminine, and because you're describing exactly what happened. I was just talking to Morgan about it early this morning, and I was saying, I said, there was like a 4 or 5 day period, and I was walking the streets, and of course this is all by divine order. I'm in the same streets 7 years after I was off the streets. I'm in a hotel right next to the streets I walked in, and I'm getting all these transmissions, and I'm hearing your money's going to run out. And I haven't had any money for 7 years, but things have started to pick up with Soulogy, and everything was, okay. I'm not sleeping on the street. And I kept hearing this voice say, we're going to put you in a corner and we're going to take everything away. And I'm like, this ain't going to happen, And, but you said something that as this thing continued and crescendoed a couple of days ago, I got to that point of total surrender. Total gave up everything. I said, I give this up. I give everything up. I give up I gave up everything. I just said, I'm done. And then I said, get me the F out of here now. I'm done. I'll see Morgan on the other side, or help me out. And then that's when I got the thing came in. It was like, okay, we'll help you out, but you got to take the rest of this now. I'm like, I'm on my knees. I'm crying. I'm like, yes. But what you said that really struck me was, in that moment, I knew through all that turmoil and intense pain and whatever it was, something inside of me, of course, was telling me, when you get through, you're not going to get any more super abundance until you get through this. And you're going to only do that through your heart and being totally surrender, vulnerable, and all that. And so as soon as I did it, I did. It just, like you said, it was instantaneous. It was like once it was done, other than the fact that it had a hell of an impact on my physical body for like 36 hours. I mean, it just I mean, I thought I was going to go to the hospital. I mean, I was just like, I feel great. Everything's good, but I can't even get out of bed,
the physical stuff is another thing that is really, has been ramping up, because also the physical body is shifting. And it's exactly the same, just like with, the old patterns that we still carry. They're also in each and every cell of us. They're stored there. So it's really like the pain showing up to release these old programs also from the cells, so that the physical body is clean. And that is super painful, because old chronic pain that you used to have is showing up, because it's really related to your core fears. Your chronic diseases are really related to your, your core fear. And that was what was triggered for each and every one. And that can be, many different things. It's not only for some, it was really like the money issue. For other people, it was more relationship, not feeling worthy issue. It's both not feeling worthy, but, different in experiences. Physical body is releasing like crazy. I have the same thing. I also know it's all root chakra and sacral, so it's all related to not feeling safe, and also not deserving. And the body is just throwing it out now intensely. So no matter what we experience right now, it's like I also said in the post, you cannot run away from it any longer.
No.
And it's always when you try fighting it, it becomes worse. Like when you try to take painkillers, or you try to like go to the doctor and get a shot or whatever, it just becomes worse. And it's really, hey, now is the time to release all, like, everything that's still, like old shit that you really don't want to carry any longer. It's thrown out now. And only then you can really walk into this new time completely clean, and really being able to co-create in a way where there's no ego, no fear, nothing involved any longer that caused separation and lack. And now we're really in that moment where it shifts into co-creation, really the first step into building new earth together. And that's beautiful. It's also beautiful to observe what happens there.
It was interesting to me too, because there was a with that instantaneous surrender, once you hit the wall, you surrender. Instantaneously, the creation magic returned, and at a totally different, place I was coming from. The other things that jump out to me, Morgan and some other people wrote about this, are the things like victimization, the agenda, kind of like not getting what you want. That to me, that was a very masculine, immature kind of thing. And I saw it in both genders, but I'm just saying that energy seemed to be prevalent of, acting out, I guess would be another way to put it. And then of course the avoidance of and the whole thing about being right that you talk about, as you saw people blowing people up on Facebook, on social media, it was amazing. It was
There's a lot of anger in the field, and that's the typical masculine emotion that is surfacing, because it's also the only emotion the masculine has ever tolerated at all was anger. And when you go deeper, and I know that from my experiences, also from coachings, many times when you go deeper into anger, you just realize it's a big pile of grief. And it's really for the feminine, of course, for the more feminine people, it's that experience already. But for the more masculine, it goes so deep, because they really are so disconnected from their true self. They really don't know who they truly are, because and they are not allowed to have emotions, and that is exactly where they block their access to themselves. So when you really let people go into more anger and really like lead them through the anger, you realize they, at a point they break, and then they just start crying, because that's all that anger is. It's really
that's what happened to me.
Grief.
And in fact, when I got done, by that time it was 10 o'clock at night, and I just heard, you need to get up and broadcast. And I'm like, man, I don't want to do that. And they're like, you need to get up and broadcast, and you need to just put your heart out there, and that's it. And I did a broadcast for about 45 minutes, and I cried, and I just said, hey, let me tell you what's going on. And I was just, I just did what I was told, led to do. And but again, I'm glad you said that, because I can tell anyone who's not gone through it, or that's listening, if it can help them, that point of surrender, you can't fake it.
No,
And
you
once you
can't.
do it,
You
it
can't.
was an instant turnaround other than the physical body. Really
Yeah.
that's the way I would describe it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and it's also normal that the physical body takes longer to catch up because it needs a lot more time and energy to transform. It's
yeah,
just density issue. Like the energy that
yeah,
is not manifest can shift a lot quicker, and then the physical body really has to catch up. It's really the hardware being upgraded, which takes
yeah,
longer because you actually
yeah,
it's the same when you know a new software is done easily, but when you want to upgrade the hardware, it's more work. It takes more time.
yeah,
And it's the same with the physical body. And so the physical body also needs you as a space holder. You yourself become your space holder for the body, knowing there's no way around it, and really giving it the rest and the time it needs, and
yeah,
the attention it needs, and really also appreciating the pain because it's the door, into more lightness and into transformation. So it is
So did
difficult because the mind goes against all of that. The
yeah.
mind doesn't want to
Well,
hear
I
that.
know it doesn't.
Yeah,
And then I think for like a day and a half, I'm almost till this morning, just
yeah,
normal things with the brain it was just very cloudy.
yeah,
Like I'm looking for my phone and it's like two inches away
yeah,
from me, and I'm looking at the room. But I think it's important too, just to reiterate too, because of the vast amount of respect that you have, that you went through the same thing. Was that in the past week or two? I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
Yeah, the funny thing is it seems almost as, because I mean time is an illusion, and we still have this kind of linear idea of how things happen, but it seems almost that I was going through it about a week sooner
hmm,
than like most of the collective. Like also in terms of waves, there's of course different waves and they experience it differently, but for the fractal or the wave that we are in, it seems like I'm always a couple of days ahead, so I can
yeah,
share about it, and I
yeah,
can hold space then for people that then go through it. And I'm not sure if I find that better or worse. I don't think there's a way of seeing it, it's just what it is.
yeah,
But yeah, I experienced it just the same, and I feel it's really important also to really talk about that and make it visible, and really
yeah,
share with people, hey, I'm not this guru who knows it all and who's totally enlightened and has it all figured out. We're all going through this, and we all have an experience, and that never stops. Evolution never stopped. Go through different experience. We move through different dimensions in the like when you see it still as a linear process. And everyone is exactly where they need to be at every point in time. Only then the whole organism works, and only then evolution is possible. So it's not about comparing. It's not about being better or worse or more advanced or less advanced. Everyone is exactly where they need to be at a certain point in time. And again,
yeah.
it's the masculine that thinks that could be superior or could control this, and
Or
that
be
is also something
or be such a
that you could,
badass it wouldn't bother you.
yeah. But
Somebody,
it's interesting.
yeah,
Hmm?
you mentioned earlier about, in reference, this whole thing in reference with the divine, conscious relationship. And Janie just asked a question. She says, "Can you share with us how this affects the divine union relationship?" Do you have any thoughts on that?
Um, yeah, well, like I said before, the carries the more feminine energy that sits now in this wave and really has, gone through all the emotional release and really come into this balance within the sacred union within, which is happening right now for many, is because like with these last purges that we experienced the past week, that is really the come to sacred union within.
Yeah,
And that is the moment when it shifts, because as soon as the is in complete balance, that's when the more masculine part really gets kicked into the process
yeah,
of awakening. And
yeah,
in many things, a lot of people, and also conscious couples have already been on the spiritual path for a long time, and yet the kick into the fifth dimension now happens, like going on this journey happens for the the more masculine parts of these couples, and that can be, you know, like feminine, like could be a woman or a man, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's about the energies that you carry, whether you're a man or a woman. It's just a different how do you say it? I can't think. Well, it doesn't matter. I think everyone understands.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm missing words.
Yeah.
That like mind fog is another
exactly.
that is happening more and more.
Dates and
what happens?
Months and, Go ahead.
So what happens for those that have really found that balance within, and actually that balance, you can really feel that balance when you have no longer any attachment or longing or missing with regards to the other half or the partner that used to be your catalyst, but really just having this space in your any expectation left in terms of what will happen with that connection. And just really giving it the time and space and understanding that this is just nothing I can control.
That's right.
And of course, this feeling only can exist of this detachment, you know, like in terms of not missing or long, when you no longer try to suck energy from the other one. And that is the sign whether there's balance or not within you. When you're still missing and longing, there's still something in me that needs balance. And the moment that stops, that is like when it really turns around, and all of a sudden the other part gets kicked into the process. And you don't have to be in physical contact for that at all. It just happens automatically, and it's the energetic dynamic that just plays out. So and that's where we're at that turning point.
And you asked me about, you know, how's it going since Morgan went back to Australia, and that's a pretty good that's a pretty good description. I mean, it's like, you know, the human, I think, is less dominant or less in control. So for me, it's more like it's acceptance. It's a knowing of what the sacred union is, and it's not constricted by time and space. And then the other thing is the little things that need to be done to, let's just say, bring physical reunification. You just, to me, I've got a totally different outlook on it now. I'm not like going, oh man, I got to do this and I got to do that. I'm not understanding. I got to do this. I got one pretty big obstacle in my own life. It's not a big obstacle. It's just one of those things you don't want to deal with, you know. But I got up today and I said, I'm going to deal with this, and did what I had to do, and I'm going to go do what I got to do, you know. So I think that was another thing you brought up too. You said that the things that need to be handled, you know, whether they be 3D-ish or you know, subconscious, we have to handle. You know. So I would imagine that anyone who's I'm just guessing, I don't know, but it's like you said, everybody there's something to be learned or given in every dimension. But man, these energies were absolutely fierce, and I can't imagine not paying attention to them, because you would literally just get your ass handed to you. I don't see how you could get around it.
And there was no way to get it. It was not, you know, it was not planned to get around it either. It was really face it, go through it, and even like the deepest things that you were still hiding also from yourself because you didn't want to look at it, they just came up to surface, and you just had to face it, and you had to be honest, you had to speak your truth. And it was really also this, you know, making yourself vulnerable no matter the consequences. And it's difficult because people are not used to, it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to not be perfect, because then it's actually when you're perfect, when you you know, just accept yourself the way you are in any point where you are. And understanding also the spiritual journey has become kind of this, you know, kind of red race thing. Who's gonna get first?
Exactly. Who knows? And I think that's
who has best methods and practices. And that it's actually become a huge market where a lot of people, you know, have like fallen into so many traps, also necessary. But that's really the learning. Hey, it's not about who's going to get there first, or I have to reach something. It's the moment you have to reach something, That's when you really to go back inside, longer see that, you know, like, oh, as a competition or out of a view of lack.
Yeah.
The moment you let go of lack, everything starts shifting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
and
difficult.
And I think that the another telltale sign is the whole thing about having to be right, because that whole thing about getting there first is just about being right. That's all that is. Just another way. Another way of looking at it. But yeah, I think that's a big, and that's another thing that I saw was this self-substantiation, you know, self-rationalization, you know, and I often say, you know, even for myself, you know, who are you trying to convince, them or yourself? You know, what if you know it, why do you have to say it? And that was a big one that came in for me a couple days ago. A big one for me was, here's like, it was like if my higher self was speaking to me in English, it would have said, listen, Todd, you know, you don't have to be right anymore. There is no right. So if you see the other person doing ABC, all you got to do is just nod your head. You're not being judgmental. You're not being superior, you know, or you know, sanctimonious. You just, you know what it is, and you just let it go. No big deal. You don't have to say anything. Keep your mouth shut. That's what I kind of got.
Yeah, exactly. It's that saying, I don't even know who's it by, but that was something I heard a long time ago. And for a long time, I didn't understand what it meant. Was you can either be right or be happy. And for a long time, I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? You know?
Well, it's true.
I want to be right. So and that is when you actually surrender, when you just say, hey, I don't have to convince anyone. You know, everyone is on their own journey and everyone needs to go through the experiences. And is that, you know, also because a lot of people say, no, I'm not judgmental, no, and I don't want to judge, but, and then, you know, okay, there's still judgment and there's still the but.
However,
and it's like this little justification, you know, I'm really spiritual, I'm not judging, but, and that's also, it's just part of the journey. And I did it, I'm sure you did that too, and it's, you know, many people, it's just a part of it. But you realize when you actually are not judging or not blame, justifying anymore, is when it doesn't keep you busy anymore in thoughts. You know, that you're like always coming back to it again. You're still triggered by it. Then you just know yourself that needs attention. And already out of your field. While when you're thinking about it, and if, you know, like upset you or whatever, then you just know, okay, there's something in me that's still, and it's actually very easy to detect where you're at when you're brave enough to look into that mirror.
Well, if you're talking about these other people or trying to convince them that you're right, then you're obviously in the wrong. You're looking in the wrong place, and there's only two places to look, right? So, so we got this. We got this blood moon eclipse, you know, 100-year thing coming tomorrow, and the gateway's coming, or the Lions Gate's coming. So, being that you get things a little early, do you have any insight that maybe you can help us with?
Well, everyone is on their own journey, so I can just talk about how I'm sensing it right now. And like I said before, I'm really at a turning point where the first people really have reached that inner balance, who become very important space holders. So it's also what you can observe right now is people that used to, for example, travel a lot and just doing their own thing and have been actually building the grid and building the network are all of a sudden, you know, like really tied into a place. Instead of traveling, while others now start traveling that have always been in one place. So there is a shift going on where these people that are really in balance, they're really called into certain places where they become anchor points for the new energy, for this new balanced sacred union, to start manifesting it into real, you know, experiences. So what my experience is very often often is when you just talk about New Earth, people cannot relate to in terms of how can that look like, and I can't really imagine that because it's just too big to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment we really start building the first experiences where people can feel, see, experience the difference to what was and what is now, that's when it really starts that people get really attracted to it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because we're experiencing it here now in Amsterdam with the project we've been building up. So we're building the first 5D business, which is also it's a 5D business in terms of a completely new way of working together, co-creating, contributing, because it's unconditional. There is no more contracts. There is there's no work contracts. There's no time how much you have to dedicate. It's all everyone contributes as much as they like, and they can also define how much they want to retribute for it. And it's not about money, it's about what do you need to be in balance. So that's the one part we're building up. And the other part is the whole purpose of this business is to really offer these bridge to the higher dimension so that people are inspired to go that way. And it's a very down-to-earth, very, my experiences with people that are now waking up, they don't have that spiritual connection we always had. So for them, that is all just bullshit. And it's just, okay, you're all crazy when you're talking about angels and about channeling, and it's just nothing they can relate to because they don't have that experience.
Yeah.
So it's really finding a very physical way, actually. And the only thing that they can really relate to is using their senses, bringing them back through their senses into emotional reactions. So triggers caused by, and we're doing that by art and beauty and by really mind-blowing experiences that we put them into so that they really get that trigger. They need to wake up and really see the world from a different perspective, wanting more of it because they realize, oh, this is the way to go. And then it becomes real.
That's fantastic.
Instead of just being, and that is what's so mind-blowing. We've done that now we started in May. And there's already a team working with 12 people, and we are already in the final talks for, a building that the city is really interested in what we're doing. So it has a huge magnetism already, and we just started. It's things where you realize, wow, it's no longer linear. If you wanted to do that in a linear process, you would probably need 200 years.
Yeah.
And what we're doing now is it's really a different process because it's fractal, it's parallel. A lot of things happening in parallel because you don't want to control it anymore. You just give impulses from a very strong core, and then stuff happens, and it builds so quickly. It's amazing. It's really organic.
Yes.
And so this is exciting now, finally doing something instead of just talking what we're going to do. So that's here now. And that way we're walking through now is to be ready to really build instead of and cry and release. And I said at one point, I just can't hear that word release anymore. I'm so done with this.
I just
or
fall
purging.
Off.
Purging is another one.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Because I purged for a day and a half. I thought, well, what else I got in me? There's nothing left in me. I finally realized last night at 11 o'clock at night, the reason I was so tired, I had nothing in my body.
Yeah.
I had to go get something to eat. I totally agree with this, the 5D business thing. We've experienced that with Soulogy. In fact, we communicate with Soulogy as a separate entity, as it was shown to us at a certain point. And so I think a lot of this comes just, I told her the other day, I said, this is an energy. Soulogy is an energy. It's not a social circle. It's an energy.
Yeah.
It's not about the gossip, and it's not about the attention and the agendas and all that. I'm not interested, and I know a lot of people, unfriend me and stuff, over time, but I've learned that it takes too much of my energy. It's not the energy that we're going to, it's the energy that we're leaving behind. But we had a show. So I think another big part of it is intuitive and spontaneous. I've always believed that.
Yeah.
These shows are that way. Everything is a copy. But the thing I was going to say is we had a show 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we haven't had the energy that we call money. But I was doing a show with Romeo Barron, and and he told us, he was telling me about what he wanted. I said, "What do you want to do?" You know, he's got a 3D job in property management. He said, "This is what I want to do." And so I received in that moment what I've received just a couple of minutes ago, and that is, you know, you and Augusti have a 5D business that you're building. You're both phenomenal people, way showers. And so, you know, we operate on support contributions, and I usually put up a comment after each show. But I know today we've got 70 people in the house, and there'll be a lot of people on the replay. So I just want to say that let me ask you, do you have a PayPal? Do you guys have a PayPal?
Yes, we do. Well, it's still active on my experience. There's still a donation button you can use, but I have not set up like a PayPal me account yet.
Well, what we did with Romeo,
So.
You do? Okay. So what I would say is this: let's all, and I'm speaking to all of our brothers and sisters out here. Let's come to the assistance of Vera and Augusti, and they've done incredible work. So on this particular episode, for those who are watching now and those who are watching the replay, Vera is going to put up her PayPal. And so instead of making a contribution to Soulogy, please make it to Vera, and she'll put it on into the comment section. If she's not able to do that, or if anybody's seeing this in the future, just as we did with Romeo, send me to the normal PayPal with Soulogy, and just put her name on it, and then I'll get it to her. We were able to send Romeo about $350, and you know, every little bit helps. So let's all support Vera and thank her, and give into this unconditional love energy. And let's show, you know, and believe me, I've lived it for months. These 777, 1111s, 1212s, 333s, $1.11s. I mean, they add up. So in Romeo, that show was proof of it too. So let's do that. And like I said,
thank you so much, Todd.
Thank you. Thank the both of you, because you guys really put it out there. And I'm personally thanking you, because I know I hit that wall. I did know that it was over. I actually did. I knew it was over, but it's nice to hear it. Nice to hear it. So so please, everyone, and if you have any problem with finding that, or if you have the PayPal, just make sure you put it in the comments section, and then I'll take it from there, and I'll spread it around to some of the other posts that are associated with this as well. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for us? You're welcome. You're beautiful, divine goddess.
Parting words of wisdom.
Well,
yes. Well, parting words.
I don't know. Maybe
always, of course. Yeah. So it's really, for me, the most important thing was, you know, like realize that the only thing that's real is the now moment. Yeah. And right now we're really at that point where we're really learning it to be completely okay with what is in the moment. And that is the big thing we have been learning during the past, actually the whole July was building up for this, so that we are ready to walk through that portal that is wide open now to really make that shift happen. Yeah. And we're really coming into a place where we're no longer suffering when we have gone through our process, being aware and really coming into this balance. Because now it shifts into doing. It's no longer just a talking about what New Earth will be like. It is a doing. And it's really not waiting for someone to, you know, like throw the first stone, but really just do. When you feel the impulse, just go do it.
That's right.
It's really something to get used to. We are the ones who are going to do no one else. We're the ones who are starting that. And it's really stepping into these shoes and saying, okay, there is no one else I can follow, and there is no guidebook for works. It's a new dimension. We have no idea yet about the dynamics and about how reality plays out here and how the dynamics are. It's trial and error. It's okay to make mistakes, because only from mistakes comes evolution. Yeah. And it's really this learning we are here for, and all we did until now was preparing for it. Yeah. And now is the time that we actually start. And of course, we're here when we reach out, like, to everyone now. And when you want to contribute, when you want to hear more about our project, please contact me, contact Agusti. We're on Facebook. Still, the Wake Up Experience website works, the contact form works. And I'm happy and to just, maybe you just need like a little kickstart. Let us know. We're all in this together, and that's co-creation, is also using the whole community. No matter what we bring to the table, everyone has different resources, different talents, different gifts, and that's why individual beings exist, because then it makes it really powerful when we all come together and we work hand in hand, and we can support with. It's every single one is important.
Right on.
Every single one.
That's right on.
Yeah.
Don't forget to put that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And, we'll be co-creating more and more. We already know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so looking forward to it.
Me too. Absolutely. And let me just remind everybody that 2-3 days ago I was 1 day away from being on the street for the first time, and well, it hasn't been that long. but this is how quick this is how quick the magic works. The magic is so quick. It is a 5D frequency, and it is based on no guarantee from the old perspective. But it's also based on just go do it. Just go do it. If you feel intuitively, go do it, and the magic works immediately. So thank you so much for sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence.
Well, same to you. Thank you so much for everything you do. Also to Morgan, somewhere in Australia.
Yeah.
And I'm so looking forward to co-create more and more. And it's beautiful to see how the fractal comes back together now after having been separated for so long.
That's right.
And yeah, it's a new, now it's really a new time. It's a new era, and beautiful to be with everyone here. Yeah. It's amazing. Thank you all so much.
Well, you take care. See you later, Vera.
You too.
Hey, everybody.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye-bye. Put that up. Put that on the comment section. Okay.